The time is now 9:30. I will call the September 14th, 2021 meeting of the Millcreek Township Board of Supervisors to order. Would you please rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This meeting is being televised live on youtube.com. A link is available at millcreektownship.com/meetings, and it's being recorded by WQLN for viewing on Spectrum Channel 1024 with closed captioning. Members of the public may attend in person in the General Assembly Room. Persons who wish to offer testimony at any hearing or to offer comments during the public comment portion of any meeting but do not wish to attend in person must contact Township Secretary Cheryl Williams at 814-833-1111 or at swilliams@millcreektownship.com no later than 24 hours before the scheduled meeting to make arrangements to participate via telephone. Ms. Williams, has anyone contacted you today? No. Okay, thank you. Next item is public comment on agenda items other than development or rezoning applications. Would anyone care to address the board this morning regarding today's agenda? All right. Next item is the Millcreek Police Department promotions. Supervisor Bach or Chief Height?
Chief, I'll turn it over to you, sir.
Thank you. Today I'm requesting the approval for the following promotions. Lieutenant Donald Kaczynski to captain. He will remain in charge of the Investigative Services Division as its commander. Sergeant Timothy Fallon to lieutenant. Lieutenant Fallon's assignment will remain in Investigative Services Division. Sergeant Christopher Hauber to lieutenant. Lieutenant Hauber's assignment will remain in Staff Services. Corporal David Parmenter to sergeant, and he will remain in the Investigative Services Division. Lastly, Corporal Adam Hartner to sergeant. He will remain in the Investigative Services Division, and unfortunately he couldn't be with us today because he is away on training. So all the above requested promotions are to fill vacancies due to previous retirements.
Thank you, Chief. I'd like to make a motion for approval.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any questions or comments from the board?
No, I think it's long overdue, and I'm just happy it's finally getting done. That's all I'm going to say. I think they feel the same way as well, and I just hope that we can move on, and I'm looking forward to this, to the administrative department here doing their function, and I know they're going to do that. They're all professionals, and I think we all owe them a debt of gratitude for what they do and for what they've done for the township.
All right, with that, I'll call for a vote. Mr. Bach?
I vote yes.
Mr. Olet?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
And I
sir.
understand there's going to be a ceremony at the night meeting.
Correct.
That's the plan, Chief, to have the families of the officers present on the 28th.
Correct.
Very good.
All right.
Right.
Great.
Thank you all.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Next item on our agenda is the approval of the August 24th, 2021 meeting minutes. Any questions or comments on the minutes, gentlemen? Okay, with that, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Bach?
Vote yes.
Mr. Olet?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. Next item is approval of the bills. Are there any questions or comments on this week's payment batch register? Okay, hearing none, is there a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second, John.
Mr. Bach?
Vote yes.
Mr. Olet?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. Next item is bids and quotations. First is the range membership for training, Millcreek Police Department. Chief Height.
We've been afforded the opportunity from Gem City Outdoorsman's Club on Van Camp Road to get a department-wide membership for the cost of $1,500. This would be for the remainder of this year and all of next year. It would come out of the training budget. As of 8/30, it had $5,910.50. That would leave us an ending balance of $4,410.50. I would recommend approval of that.
All right, any questions or comments?
No.
All right, is there a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Bach?
Vote yes.
Mr. Olet?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. Next is the ADA Sidewalk Accessibility Project Phase 9, change order number 3, Planning and Development Department. Mr. Waldinger.
Thank you. Good morning. Yes, as you know, this is part of the consent decree with Voices for Independence to install ADA-compliant ramps throughout the township. This is the last phase of that project and will be complete after this year. In front of you is change order number 3 to add a couple of ramps that were triggered because of the additional paving that's being done this year. The cost for this change order is at a price of $2,300 per ramp, bringing this change order to $18,400. That would bring the new contract amount to $231,355. There is anticipated that there will be one additional change order that will likely be a deduction for quantities that were not needed. The contract was written with extra quantities in case they were required. There will be some subtractions with that final change order. At this time, I'd like to recommend that we approve change order number 3 with Lindy Paving in the amount of $18,400. And it should be noted that all of these funds are being covered by the township's 2021 Community Development Block Grant funds.
Thank you, Mr. Waldinger. Any questions or comments from the board?
No, sir.
All right, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Bach?
Vote yes.
Mr. Olet?
I vote yes.
I vote yes. Next, the 28th Street Wetland Delineation Study. Mr. Waldinger.
Thank you. This is in relation to the overflow basin that the township is intending to construct north of 28th Street, south of 26th Street, which is west of McKee Road. In order to satisfy DEP's permit requirements, we need to have a report on any wetlands that may be in the area. We've got a price from Urban Engineers. It's a not-to-exceed price of $2,775 to file a full report. As I mentioned, that is a not-to-exceed price. If they do go to the site and there are no wetlands present, it would be a lower cost. This would be in case they do discover wetlands and have to delineate and report on them. So I'd like to recommend that we award this contract to Urban Engineers for a not-to-exceed of $2,775.
Any questions or comments from the board? And I apologize, Mr. Waldinger, this is coming out of the budget line.
I'm
for
sorry,
that?
yes, this is coming out of the Planning and Development Professional Services line item.
All right, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Bach?
Vote yes.
Mr. Olet?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. Next item is pump for Whispering Woods number 4. Mr. Snyder.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning. Sewer Department is seeking permission to purchase one new pump for Whispering Woods Pump Station number 4. This would be purchased from Miller Pump for the CoStar's price of $5,076.78 under contract number 0000541212. The monies would come from the sewer revenue account labeled machinery and equipment. There's currently $83,434.80. Minus the cost of the pump would leave a balance of $78,358.02. The estimated cost to repair the existing pump was between $4,200 and $4,500. It just makes sense to purchase a new one in this one. So it would be my recommendation to purchase that pump from Miller Pump.
Thank you, Mr. Snyder. Any questions or comments? All right, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Bach?
Vote yes.
Mr. Olet?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. Next is garage number 2, man doors. Mr. Snyder.
This building maintenance is seeking permission to purchase and have installed 2 man doors in garage number 2. The doors will be purchased from Corporate Glass for the price of $7,180. These doors would replace the two fiberglass doors. The frames are becoming rusted out and no longer sealed properly. This is a capital budget item expense. Currently, there is $10,000 in the line item, minus the cost of the doors would leave a balance of $2,820 in that account. It would be my recommendation to purchase these two doors from Corporate Glass for the price of $7,180.
Thank you, Mr. Snyder. Any questions or comments? Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Bach?
Vote yes.
Mr. Olet?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. Next item is the Amherst Road Storm Sewer Rehabilitation. Mr. Snyder.
Yes, the Streets Department is seeking permission to have National Gunite rehab 250 linear feet of 48-inch diameter CMP pipe on Amherst Road. The rehab would consist of a 2-inch welded mesh reinforced concrete at each joint and 2 inches and reinforced shotcrete, lining the invert from 4 o'clock to 8 o'clock position. The cost would be $42,220 under the CoStar's contract number 41-006. The monies would be taken from the ARP funds for this project.
Thank you, Mr. Snyder. Any questions or comments from the board? Okay, I just want to note that
Chairman
this-
Morgan, if I could, we should probably join this with the next item on the agenda, which is the resolution.
Right, I was going to
Okay.
basically call for a vote to approve the contract and then note that we'll be authorizing the funds separately.
Okay.
So to clarify, this will be a vote to authorize the contract, to approve the project, and then we'll authorize a resolution drawing funds from the American Rescue Plan Act funds. Does that make sense?
Yes.
All right, is there a motion to approve the project and the contract with, I apologize, Gary, I moved on already.
National
Contract
Gunite.
With National Unite.
National Gunite.
I'll make a motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, Mr. Bach,
Vote yes.
Mr. Olet.
I vote yes.
I vote yes. Thank you, gentlemen. Next item is Resolution 2021-R45 related to that project, a resolution awarding the Amherst Road Storm Sewer Rehabilitation Project to National Gunite Incorporated in the amount of $42,220 and authorizing the use of funds provided to Millcreek Township under the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021 for this eligible storm sewer project. Any additional comments, Mr. Shaw, regarding this resolution?
Just this is a resolution intended to outline the rationale for the application of this project to the, for the use of the ARPA funds. The ARPA funds authorize funds to be used for infrastructure investments, including infrastructure related to stormwater, and that this project falls within the parameters established by the guidance of the Treasury Department with respect to such projects. So just wanted to make sure we had some record and documentation reflecting that.
Okay. And just for those in attendance, we were awarded approximately $6 million from the federal government related to the American Rescue Plan. We've been spending those funds to enhance our paving program thus far this year. And this is just another eligible activity we can do to improve our maintenance of our infrastructure in the township utilizing those additional federal funds. So is there a motion to approve Resolution 2021-R45?
I'll make that motion, John.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Bach?
Vote yes.
Mr. Olet?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. Next item on our agenda is Resolution 2021-R46, a resolution pursuant to Resolution 2015-R20 and the Municipal Records Manual to approve proposed disposition of certain township records. This is a routine item on our agenda, authorizing disposition of records as they reach their maturity dates. Today, we'll be voting on approving police department dash cam videos, approving deletion of those videos that reach their retention period requirements between the dates of September 15th and September 28th. Any questions or comments from the board? Is there a motion to approve Resolution 2021-R46?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Bach?
Vote yes.
Mr. Olet?
I vote yes.
I vote yes. Next resolution is Resolution 2021-R47, a resolution to amend Resolution 2008-R46 and Resolution 2016-R5 pertaining to the administration of the right to know law to officially appoint certain individuals as open records officers for Millcreek Township and the Millcreek Township Police Department. Mr. Shaw, you want to unpack that for us?
Sure. Under the right to know law, we are required to identify and appoint various an official employee to act as Open's record officer. The township historically has identified an officer for the police department, given kind of the unique nature of their records, as well as a separate person to handle the balance of the records for Millcreek Township. Under this resolution, previous resolutions had identified individuals by name. The resolution here is amended to reflect a change from identifying individuals by name to identifying positions within the township, so that the person who holds that position would be acting as the right-to-know officer. And we designate both a position with respect to the main right-to-know officer as well as an alternate if the main officer is not available. So with respect to the police department, the primary right-to-know officer will be the commander of the Staff Services Unit, and the alternate will be the commander of the Investigative Services Division. With respect to the balance of the records in the township, the Millcreek Township Secretary is the primary person responding to the right-to-know requests, and the alternate would be the Millcreek Township Treasurer.
Thank you, Mr. Shaw. Any questions or comments from the board?
I think we have a correction.
Okay.
On the police end. I think Cheryl gave us an update.
I was reading the,
That's okay, Mark. Yeah, it's just designating the staff services lieutenant as the primary, and actually the chief will be designated as the alternate.
yep, I see that now. I was looking at the one that had been circulated earlier. Thank you for correcting that.
I don't know if chief had any further, is that, we on task there? Okay. Good.
Okay. Any additional questions or comments from the board? All right, is there a motion to approve Resolution 2021-R47?
I'll make that motion, John.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Bach?
I vote yes.
Mr. Olet?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. And next item is the PennDOT reimbursement grant agreements for federal highway projects, Arbuckle Road and West 32nd Street. As you gentlemen know, Mr. Waldinger and his team successfully secured about $410,000 of federal highway funds to help our paving program for next year, to pave Arbuckle Road and West 32nd Street. So thank you, Matt, and your team for securing those funds from the MPO. Today we're voting on the reimbursement, it's not a grant agreement as much as a reimbursement agreement.
It's to enter into a reimbursement agreement with PennDOT for those funds after we pave.
Okay, and then also, you want to have a resolution, Mark, as part of that vote, or is it separate?
We could make it as part of that vote, because the resolution does approve the execution of the reimbursement grant agreements. Both documents, or both agreements, are contained in Resolution 2021-R48, something that PennDOT needs in order to verify that the persons signing are authorized to sign. And this resolution authorizes Ann Sokol as Township Engineer and myself to execute any documents that are necessary to complete these two agreements. The first agreement is R210-10009 and R210-10010, covering each of those roads respectively. This is part of the electronic signature system, and I always get these notices to sign, and Dan gets the notices to then sign, so.
Gotcha. All right. Any additional questions or comments from the board? All right, is there a motion to approve Resolution 2021-R48?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Bach?
Vote yes.
Mr. Olet?
I vote yes.
I vote yes. Thanks again, Matt. Next is PADEP Section 902 Grant Funding Application. Is that Mr. Olet or Mr. Shaw on that one?
Mr. Lett, I believe.
Okay. The recent PADEP 902 grant became eligible and open to Millcreek Township. This particular grant round permitted applicants to request up to $350,000 with 90% funded by the DEP and the remaining 10% to be matched financially by the applicant. The electronic grant application is due September 24th. After being awarded, the grant is considered a reimbursement grant where Millcreek Township must spend the money during the 2-year grant cycle and then may request reimbursement from the DEP once everything has been paid for up front. The Recycling Department recommends that PADEP 902 grant application request a total project budget of approximately $385,000. In this grant round, DEP will cover 90%, $350,000, with 10% match funding from Millcreek at $35,000. DEP funded expenses will include the remainder of the beast grinder, a high lift loader with grapple bucket, recycle bins and toters for curbside and glass recycling, paving at the Millfair Compost Center, and recycling composting education. Match-funded expenses will include security cameras for the Millfair Compost Center and recycling composting education. 4 weeks of newspaper advertising for the purchase of heavy composting equipment is required. All expenses referenced above have been accounted for in the 2022 Millcreek Public Services budget.
Thank you, Mr. Olet. Any questions or comments from the board? I have a question. Last year, we unloaded all of our bins and toters that were stockpiled and taking up a lot of space in the township. We gave them all away, and we have waste haulers that provide those things. So I'm curious as to why we are looking to purchase more of them.
There's still a need and a request from the community for bins, and we don't have any to give up right now because they were all given away.
Why are we giving away? Okay.
Are the bins and toters not part of the reimbursement, though?
It's grant funded.
And I understand your point.
But we just unloaded all of them, so we had space for real township equipment and needs.
Do we know the quantity?
Stockpile more of them.
Do we know the quantity of the new?
I don't see the quantity here.
I'm not in favor of getting such a quantity that we're back to where we were before, because we are, space is at a premium down there, and I don't really.
I was part of the effort where we handed out hundreds of those things, and then we gave the rest to the city of Erie to unload them. So if we were just going to buy more later, we shouldn't have given them all away. I thought we were getting out of that business.
You bring up a valid point in my mind. I don't know the quantity, so I can't comment on that.
As for moving into next year, I don't think we really know where we're going to be with toters and containers, because we are going to be going into a new contract, and whether or not that will be part of the contract is to be determined yet.
What's the deadline for the submittal?
The 24th, I believe, yeah, the 24th of this month.
Doesn't say.
And the director isn't present today to discuss this?
I'm not sure if she's here or not.
Well, gentlemen, I'm not going to be here next year, but I'm going to suggest that we don't ask the state to buy more recycling toters for us to store in a barn for the next 10 years. I think we stored the last ones for, 20 years in a barn? Instead of putting equipment in there, we left equipment out to rot in the elements instead of, because we had to keep blue barrels pristine for no reason. I don't think we need to go back there, but I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, if I could make a suggestion, that two possible options here, I think. One, obviously, is we could recess for a moment, see if the director is here who could answer the questions that you have. Or second, you could approve, subject to any possible reduction related to the recycle bins and toters. So you will have approved up to $385 for the grant amount, which could be reduced to a lower number if it's, you conclude that the volume of recycled bins and toters would be, not appropriate. It's not clear, obviously, in what's submitted, whether they're looking to get 100 or 20,000 like they did last time.
I also believe there's a fair degree of flexibility on that. That was supposedly under the match. I think there's a great degree of flexibility of what comprises that match. Generally, in the past, just the educational materials from the magazine qualify for the match. So, you could exclude those altogether and still have your matching contribution, possibly. And given the fact we haven't approved the 2022 budget yet, it's a little bit premature to, it's like giving it pre-approval, but it isn't quite right.
Sounds fair to me. Thank you, Mark and Mark.
So is there a motion?
So moved.
What's the motion?
That we approve the $385,000 grant application
As is.
as is.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Bogg?
I vote yes.
Mr. Lynn?
I vote yes.
I vote no. I said I vote no. Next item is amendment to agreement between the MPD and the Erie County Health Department. Is that Chief Height, or is that? Oh, he already said not it.
All right, I'll take that one, Chief. You owe me. This is simply an amendment to the agreement that exists between the Health Department and the Police Department regarding the tobacco investigations. Additional funds became available at the county level, and so they approached us to continue our mission of investigating tobacco sales to minors. So this agreement reflects that those additional funds being provided, and our commitment to use them to conduct additional investigations.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the board?
I have a question.
Okay.
Chief, do we actually get the results of these investigations? Are we in?
We conduct them, so.
Okay, I mean, yeah, so are they readily available, or do you know, have they been successful as far as?
In some cases, yes. So generally, there are summary offenses that the people receive summary citations for, and then it's reported back to the health department, the results of our investigations.
I didn't know if you knew in general, like the percentage of, it says here a maximum of 44.
It goes up and down,
Okay.
dependent on how often they're doing these investigations, so.
Okay. All right, thank you.
And you're comfortable with this agreement, Chief?
It was well stated by the solicitor.
It always is.
Now he's trying to butter me up.
Is there a motion to approve the amended agreement between the MPD and the Erie County Health Department?
I will make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Bach?
Vote yes.
Mr. Olet?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. Next item is exclusion from land development request for 4166 West Ridge Road, all seasons placement developer. Mr. Waldinger.
Thank you. I do want to make one correction. This was transmitted in error to the secretary as a request. This is actually just an announcement of an exclusion. It meets the township's requirements for an exclusion that's granted by the Planning and Development Department. This is for All Seasons Placement at 4166 West Ridge Road. They're proposing to add 134 square foot addition, which would be a new canopy roof and windbreak walls. It has been reviewed by the township engineer and the assistant zoning and development officer. There is a form there in front of you from the township engineer certifying that it meets all the requirements for an exclusion from land development. So this will be granted based on township policy. That's a report.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Walder. Next item is a non-substantial amended land development plan request. Sinai Sports developer. Mr. Waldinger.
Thank you. This is one that is in front of you for your approval or potential approval. It is above the 5,000 square foot threshold, but less than 10,000, which requires board recommendation in order to go forward. The developer, Sinai Sports, is asking to add an 8,500 square foot addition, which would be built on top of existing impervious area. The stormwater has been reviewed, and as it was previously accounted for as impervious area through their land development plan, no additional stormwater is required. They will be required to meet all parking requirements and any other township requirements, absent having to submit a full land development plan. Again, there is a certification form in front of you from the township engineer certifying that this meets our requirements for an exclusion from land development. And so at this time, we would recommend that this meets the requirements for a non-substantial amendment to a land development plan. So at this time, I would recommend that the board approve this non-substantial amendment.
And these still need to be recorded, correct? This is an exclusion from having to go through the planning commission process and coming to us.
Correct, yes, and they still have to meet all township requirements, they just don't have to go through the full process.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the board? Okay, is there a motion to approve the non-substantial amendment request?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Bach?
Vote yes.
Ms. Burlett?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. Next item is Erie Real Estate Investments Tax Assessment Appeal Settlement. Guessing that's Mr. Shaw.
Yes. Before you is a stipulation to settle and discontinue an assessment appeal filed by Erie Real Estate Investments, MG LLC, against the Erie County Board of Assessment Appeals, as well as Millcreek Township and the school district. As a result of this, the parties settled on the 2020 assessed value and 2021 assessed value in the amounts of $3,111,820 and $2,938,540 respectively. It is recommended that the board approve this settlement. And I believe the fair market value for the property was at a number that was acceptable to the council that was handling this for the school district and is acceptable to the parties.
Any questions or comments from the board?
I'm sorry, if I could add, just to authorize the solicitor to sign this on behalf of the township.
I suppose we do that. Any questions or comments from the board? Any questions or comments from the treasurer? We're all good with this?
We're good.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the Erie Real Estate Investment Tax Assessment Appeal Settlement?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Buck?
Vote yes.
Mr. Roulette?
I vote yes.
I vote yes. Next item is authorization for the township solicitor to intervene in a zoning hearing board appeal. Anyone want to add to that?
Sure. On August 25 of this year, the owners of the property located at 2916 Broadlawn Drive filed an appeal of the Millcreek Township Zoning Hearing Board's determination, appeal number 21-19. The appeal was filed against the Zoning Hearing Board, and the way the procedures procedures are, the township is not a party to that matter, but needs to intervene to become a party. That's important because as you go through the process of that, if it gets appealed to the Commonwealth Court and beyond, then the township has to be a party. So it's important to intervene at this point in time, and we would recommend that in intervening in this appeal.
questions or comments from the board? All right, is there a motion to authorize Mr. Shaw, McDonald Illig to intervene in the zoning hearing appeal?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second, John.
Mr. Bach?
I vote yes.
Mr. Roulette?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. Next item is the Erie Waterworks easement agreement. Mr. Shaw?
Yes. Erie Waterworks approached the township for an easement along Roxbury Road as part of their project for a main extension to close a loop on two dead ends that existed on Roxbury Place and Roxbury Road. A portion of Roxbury Road had been identified in the subdivision documents, but was not opened by the township in the statutory 21-year period to open roads, and the township no longer has authority on the paper street. Fortunately, the township also owns the adjoining property to that area, and based on that, the township proposed to Erie Waterworks that the township would quitclaim essentially an easement to them over that portion of the road that they believe as the adjoining owner they would have a right to. Erie Waterworks agreed with that, and before you is the easement agreement that they have approved, and it's now before you for your approval.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Shaw. Any questions or comments from the board? All right, is there a motion to approve the easement agreement with Erie Waterworks?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Bach?
Vote yes.
Mr. Roulette?
I vote yes.
I vote yes. Next item is permission to sell the asphalt plant and accessory materials. I don't have a document. Does it require a formal resolution or just an action of the board?
Just simply an action of the board. As you know, the asphalt plant ceased operations several years ago, and it's been recommended by Public Works to sell the plant and the associated materials with that plant. The items for sale would include the entire plant and approximately 2,500 tons of stone. The winning bidder would be responsible for the removal of the plant and the stone. And given the size of the items for sale, we thought it made sense to, it would be my recommendation for the board to authorize the sale of that plant and the associated stone and authorize the advertisement.
Guess this would be go out for closed bid.
Yeah. Yeah, the value's well in excess of what you would need to do bidding on.
It should also be noted that the stone will have to be dedicated to road projects because they were originally purchased with liquid fuels monies.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the board? All right, is there a motion to authorize putting the asphalt plant and associated materials out for bid for sale?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Bach?
Vote yes.
Mr. Roulette?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. Next item is communications. Are there any treasurer communications today, Mr. Krzyzewski?
Nothing further at this time.
All right, thank you, sir. Next is hiring requests. We have requests from the HR department for a new hire to fill a vacancy for a township receptionist. Sean McClelland is recommending the hire of Melinda Fleming for that position with a start date of September 20th at the contract rate of $16.18 per hour. Melinda comes to Millcreek Township from Hub International, where she has worked as a COBRA administrator. She has over 11 years of office experience, including switchboard and customer service experience. Any questions or comments from the board? All right, is there a motion to approve Melinda Fleming as our new receptionist starting September 20th?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Bach?
Vote yes.
Mr. Roulette?
I vote yes.
I vote yes. Next is a request to hire a new part-time dispatcher. This would be hiring Victoria Young as a part-time dispatcher with I guess she's already started. This would be a retroactive approval for her hire date of September 7th. At a rate of $12 per hour. Victoria is currently employed by us, was employed or is as a 911 telecommunicator for Erie County for 9 months, and was a shipping clerk for Robertson Trucking. Any questions or comments from the board? A motion to approve the new dispatch part-timer.
I'll make that motion, John.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Bach?
Vote yes.
Mr. Roulette?
I vote yes.
fine with having part-time dispatchers. I'll vote yes. Next is a request to fill a vacancy. Diane Lyons is requesting permission to begin filling a full-time dispatch vacancy. Just needs action from the board to authorize opening that process up. Any questions or comments from the board?
Is this due to a vacancy?
Correct.
Okay.
Is there a motion to approve finding a new dispatcher, full-time dispatcher?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I will second.
Close. Yeah, okay. Usual comments. We've had an agreement with the county for, I think, over a decade now to transition our dispatch services to County 911. We need to start that process at some point. I believe it should have started a long time ago. So I'm not in favor of expanding or filling full-time position of dispatch. I believe we should start that transition. So I restate that position of mine. So with that, I'll call for a vote. Mr. Bach?
I vote yes.
Mr. Olet?
I vote yes.
And I vote no. Next item is a request from Diane Lyons to extend the temporary part-time animal enforcement officer. This would be to keep a retired employee, Tim Stevenson, for 12 more working days to continue training our new animal enforcement officer. And it should be a max of 3 days per week, 8 hours per day, at $18 per hour. Any questions or comments from the board?
I did, after we had our discussion last Thursday, touch base with Chief Height regarding this, and he's in favor of extending the training.
Correct. He just
Evidently,
needs some more time with him on the weekends when it's busier times. Obviously, he hasn't had quite the opportunity to experience a number of different types of calls that they get, and we're looking for a little bit more time with him.
yeah, on the weekends.
Is there a motion to approve extending the temporary part-time animal enforcement officer?
I'll make that motion, John.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Bach?
I vote yes.
Mr. Olet?
I vote yes.
I vote no. Next. Got a lot of these today. This is from Ashley Marsteller to approve the fall employees for the Parks and Rec classes. Any comments you want to add to that, Mr. Olet?
No, there's about 21 people here listed for the programs. Salary ranges anywhere from $9.75 to $11 an hour for the fall programming.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the fall employees?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Bach?
Vote yes.
Mr. Olet?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. All right. Next is training requests. Chief Height, you have a couple?
I'm requesting approval for 2 officers to attend the National Tactical Officers Basic SWAT Operations in Middletown, Virginia, from October 4th through October 8th. Travel would be by department vehicle. The total estimated costs are $2,870.50. This would be split between the training expense budget and the travel expense budget, leaving balances of, in the training expense budget of $5,910.50 and the travel expense budget of $9,184.14.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the board?
I'll make a motion for approval of this training request.
All right. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Bach?
Vote yes.
Mr. Roulette?
I vote yes.
I vote yes. Next is from Public Works. Mr. Snyder?
Yes. Public Works is seeking permission to send Anita Ray for notary training at the Hilton Head Gardens Inn in Erie on September 14th for the cost of $120 plus her daily rate. Public Works has recently started putting together their own contracts for various construction projects, and there are usually papers that need to be notarized, and having someone in the department that could do this would make this process easier. The monies would come from the Streets Department training budget. There is currently $1,500 in this account, minus the training would leave a balance of $1,380. It would be my recommendation to have Anita attend this training for $120.
Any questions or comments from the board? My only comment, gentlemen, and I think Anita is a fantastic employee. I guess, my understanding, we have 3 or 4 notaries already in the township. I just don't understand. I don't think there's a volume that our existing notaries can't handle. So I don't think we need to add another notary, and it's nothing against Anita. I just, I don't see the need to expand that, the number of those individuals. I believe we have several notaries in the police department as well.
We haven't had a notary for some time, although I believe possibly our new employee is a notary, but I'm not sure on that to be.
So again, Gary, nothing against Anita. I just don't know if the volume warrants the additional.
Well, we're kind of looking towards the future also.
Okay.
I know we'll be losing at least one of those in the next couple of years. So we were just trying to get set up for the future on this.
Okay. So is there a motion to approve the training request?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Bach?
Vote yes.
Mr. Olet?
I vote yes.
I'm going to vote no. Next item is just informing the public that we had executive sessions on September 2nd and September 9th to discuss various legal and personnel matters with our executive team. Next is solicitor communications. Anything else, Mr. Shaw?
Nope, nothing further on my end.
Okay. I just have one announcement. I shared this with the board last week and with our management team last week as well. I will be resigning from the full-time paid position of municipal administrator from the township. My last day as a full-time employee at the township will be October 1st. I know it's a little different for supervisors. In Pennsylvania, the elected position of supervisor is actually separate from the full-time position that we appoint ourselves to. So my intention is to stay on the board as the elected supervisor through the end of my term, as an unpaid supervisor starting October 4th. I just want to let the public know that I will no longer be a full-time employee after October 1st. So I'll not be receiving salary or benefits from the township after that date. I do intend to keep coming to meetings. I intend to stay in contact with our managers to be informed on voting on policies and procedures and resolutions here at the township, and being available via email and telephone as I usually am. But I just want to let folks know I'll have a little bit limited availability during the working days, so feel free to call these two guys between the hours of 8 and 4:30, and I'll get back to you in the evening on weekends. So just want to let the public know that, and I want to just thank all of our employees for the privilege of working alongside all of them for these past 5.5 years. It's been great being part of the team here, and again, I intend to keep coming back for meetings in October, November, and December, but I will not have regular office hours after October 1st. So I'll let everybody know that.
Okay.
Next is citizens to be heard. Would anyone care to address the board this morning? You wouldn't mind just stepping up and stating your name and address for the record? That'd be great.
I have a folder for each of you gentlemen, if you don't mind,
Okay,
in regards to my issue.
thank you.
Thank you, John.
My name's John Kinzor. I live at 2646 Kimberly Drive. I'm here in capacity because I filed a complaint with the code enforcement officer back on 8/20 of 21 regarding a neighbor's property in reference to 302.4. I've enclosed pictures and a couple of the, from Wikipedia, interpreting what a pollinating garden is. I believe this property is getting out of control with how they interpret pollinating garden. I've spoken with the owner several times throughout the summer. I've even offered my riding tractor, which he has used in the past. He refused. I don't believe the terminology within a township covers any of these things in your general requirements as far as wording goes. It says that there is growth all over the property, 8 inches sporadic everywhere across the property. Okay, the tenant or the homeowner believes that she has a pollinating garden, so she outlines it with mulch to contain the area. I invite the gentleman to come to my property. You can look. Mr. Bach was there last week. He can attest to some of the pictures there. I didn't get carried away with the pictures. I don't have a appeal right with the code enforcement, which I believe is wrong. And I'm not saying anything bad about Chuck, but I don't believe he really looked into this issue and determined that this was a pollinating garden. There's more to the wording pollinating than just having weeds grow. You have to have a water source. You have to have perennial plants. Okay, you have to have areas for the bugs, pollinators to hide, as far as wood, hollowed out pieces of wood, just several other items. I didn't get carried away with printing anything for you gentlemen, but I did highlight stuff. I just don't believe the policy is fair as far as a complaint goes. I'm not asking the property to be pristine. I really ain't. Just clean it up and don't make a mockery of this procedure. And that's what's happening.
I mean,
Any questions, gentlemen? I mean, I numbered the pictures so that if you did have a question in regards to that area, I could answer your question.
no, I think what you presented is pretty clear.
I just would like something done. I don't believe that what she is defining as a pollinating garden is there. Okay?
Mhm.
The front area is in picture 3. The grass is to the point where it's laying over,
Yeah.
okay? That's not a pollinating garden, okay? And it says in your policy here, in general requirements,
Yeah.
8 inches.
What were the dates of these photos?
These were just, I actually have them on my phone. I could tell you the date.
Oh, just ballpark, like last
Probably
week, a week
within a
ago?
couple weeks.
Okay.
And nothing's changed as far as picture 3 goes. Picture 4 is from the street. None of the pictures I took was on their property,
Okay.
okay? But she considers picture 4 a pollinating garden.
Yeah. Okay. Well, sir, I think Mr. Waldinger is supervisor for Property Maintenance Bureau. We'll provide this to Mr. Waldinger, have a discussion with him. I understand, Matt, I know we don't really discuss these things publicly, but there was some action taken on the property, if I'm not mistaken, that Chuck did.
I know Mr. Pierce has been up there several times, including yesterday. There were some concerns about the lawn area being above 8 inches and that had been rectified on his last inspection. But as far as the pollinating garden, that was the result of the discussions within the code enforcement department.
Okay. I think it might warrant further discussion and some clarification on how we define those things. what we find acceptable, so.
Sure.
We'll review that, so thank you for bringing it to our attention for the photos.
I appreciate your time. Thank you, gentlemen. You have any questions, feel free to call me or stop by or anything.
Okay.
All right.
Okay?
Thank you, sir.
Sir, we don't recognize you. If you could please state your name and address for the,
No pen, you can't, oh, yeah, you do. Hey, Jerry Svidio, 1720 West Gore Road. Hey, thanks for your time here. What can you say? I'm talking about Beaver Run, okay? If you remember way back when, washed out, you had to replace a bank, tube it, on a house going across 55th Street. Well, some of you may not remember. Back, maybe you guys weren't here.
yeah, I don't think we were.
You
These
know,
guys
I
might
can't
remember.
quite, 55th Street only runs from Peach to Herman Drive. And the last house on 55th Street is a two-story home. But behind it, Millcreek had to tube it. I don't like this thing that's close. Millcreek had to tube it. I talk loud enough without that. And because it was washing the bank away. And they also put rocks, you know, built up the bank, and they dug out behind my daughter's house on 1717 West 55th. They expanded that. What do you want to call it? Run, ditch, land. They dug, Millcreek, in fact, I believe paid my father-in-law and the neighbor money for an easement or something to go in there and clean it out a little bit. You know where the new house went? Right behind the Japanese place?
Yes.
Yeah, I got it here. So,
Yeah.
yeah, between Laurie Lane and between 55th Street. Yeah.
Now, if you come straight down Perkins, Millcreek actually owns that land coming straight off, running down into that run. And I've talked to Ann, because it's washing out your drainage, culverts, storm, what the heck do they call it? Catch basins. They empty there. So that runs straight down between the house on the west side of Perkins, well, west side of Perkins off of 55th Street, and the land that Millcreek owns, straight ahead if you're coming down Perkins. But it's washing out. I got pictures in my phone. I'm not going to give you a bunch of pictures. You want to see the pictures, I'll give them to you. But way back when Mr. Kuyawa was a supervisor, that area down in there used to be cleaned up. Now, I talked to Ann about cleaning that up. She said I can go in there and cut trees, you know, whatever's in there to keep it down. I mean, there's people that sleep down there. There's kids that monk around down there, and it's all covered up. If you go over and look at the building on the corner that's for sale, the old R parts, there's human feces up against the back corner. And I'm not saying somebody's living down there right now, because I've been down there and I cut it down as much as I can for my daughter, just for her safety. Because I think people go down in there. I still do. You know, what do you got across the street? And on the corner where Bizarro's used to be. I mean, my daughter's a state parole agent. And I know where they dump people off over at the hospital. So I'm just saying, safety's sake, I'd like to see that cleaned up down there, but I also like to see something done with the stormwater that's running off, and it's going to wash it. It's not going to be my problem. It's going to be somebody's problem, that house right there on the corner with the fence. It's going to wash out. I got pictures. I'll show you after the meeting what it looks like. And that's all I'd like to say about that stuff. I have one other thing. I don't know where civility started or ended in this township. I spoke to Mr. Block about an incident on 90. But there's a gentleman on Zook Road, and I know we can't do a dang thing about him, that feels that he has to put some obscene language up there, whether it be for my president or somebody else's president, it's not right. And there should be I know it's free speech is free speech, but to me, he should be made to take that down. There should be some way that you cannot ride around, show our youngsters, you know, how, I just can't. I get excited about this stuff.
I don't disagree with you.
And-
But to that issue, I mean, we've talked to our solicitor, and I think there's actually been Supreme Court cases that have said that
Right on point.
that exact issue is nothing we can touch without violating First Amendment rights. And I don't agree with the Supreme Court on that. I think that there should be some limits to what kind of obscenity can be put out there and in the public, but I don't think we have any recourse. I don't know.
Yeah.
And it's not about our personal perspective on it. It's,
I'm not taking you to task.
Yeah, I mean, it's come up several times with flags and this or that, and you know, there's a Supreme Court case right on point that our hands unfortunately are tied. I mean, I don't disagree with you that, you know, it's an abomination, frankly, to have that type of stuff publicized in that fashion, and really no reason for it, but unfortunately, there's not much we can do about it.
well, and we've looked into it from kind of a criminal aspect of if it's disturbing the peace, anything like that, and we don't have any grounds for that either. I mean, we've
Sure.
looked at kind of other ways besides like a sign ordinance, and there's just, we don't have grounds to, it's just, it's unfortunate, but,
That's all right.
being obscene, being a bad neighbor is not necessarily a crime,
I hear it.
and it's unfortunate that we can't do something about it.
Well, I'm sure somebody probably would have wanted to take me to task a couple times, but not for lewd stuff, just for signs, you know, or behavior, but, I mean, come on, and we're grown-ups, this is, you know, Millcreek could come out and say, you know, this, we cannot do nothing about it, but it's unfortunate that it has to happen. So if you want to see the pictures of that ditch, I'll show them to you. I'd like something to be looked at. I don't know if it's all my responsibility to go down there and clean that part of it,
I mean,
because we're not sure where the property lines go now ever since. If you research back, and
Yeah.
I talked to Annie.
I mean,
You
I
know,
think
that's-
if I'm not mistaken, you guys are strong. It depends on, I don't know if we have an actual formal easement down there, or if it's just the property lines.
We'd have to look back to, I mean, that was before my time as well. We'd have to look back to see what was signed or executed in terms of access to that portion, and
Yeah, that's not to say that past boards didn't do what they felt like doing without
Sure.
legal grounds to do it. But we're trying to be a little more buttoned up these days.
I understand.
But, yeah, we can look into that and see what the,
Well, I don't want to go in there and get in trouble either. How's that? You know what I mean?
Well,
Then you know, someday, I mean, with the weather, you're
it
gonna end
sounds
up
like the
with
township
another.
isn't surveilling down there very well, though.
Excuse me?
It sounds like the township isn't surveilling down there very well, though. I think you'd be okay.
Yeah, but with this crazy weather, I mean, you don't want to run into the same thing with it going down there and clogging up that. You go down there and look at the tube that's there. You don't want that clogging back up and backing up and flooding somebody or ruining a back heat.
Yeah.
Because we cannot count on what's going on in the climate anymore, as far as I'm concerned. That's my opinion.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else care to address the board this morning? All right, anything else for the good of the order? Gentlemen, or Ms. Williams, Ms. Caparosa? All right, with that, I will call for a motion to adjourn at, yeah, we'll say 10:35.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, we're adjourned. Have a good day, everybody.